All right, we are live with yet another great live stream talking about remote work. And this is Madic Mondays. Great live stream. Can you hear me? About remote
Yeah, we can hear you.
And this is Madic Mondays.
It's like
I did
a
it crazy. Yeah, I got it now. All right, let's start over again. Madic Mondays, remote work. This is Adrian, Travelmatic, and I have a distinguished panel here. My good friends. We have Calvin and we have Tiffany. Let's take a round of applause for these people here that have joined me to help me out, talk about remote work. We're going to start off with the lady of the house, Miss Tiffany. She can introduce herself as y'all already know her.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Sports and Heels. I have been a remote worker since 2015, on and off, and then full time since 2017. And I travel for work and personal. So I've combined the two into my own little world of remote work. So I have lots of opinions, lots of advice, and I'm a big proponent for being a remote worker. So thanks for having me today.
Thanks, Tiffany. And my boy Calvin.
So yeah, I'm Calvin Lyles. I currently work for a nuclear fuel facility here in South Carolina. I'm currently the product development engineering manager for a small group. It's only about 6 of us at this time. So I've been there for about 16 years actually. And like most people, or a good bit of people, unlike Tiffany, we COVID was the onset for us about as far as working remote. I think we had an old mindset at that time that they were against that you could not be productive working remote. And so COVID forced their hands on, you had to. For me, though, it's a little different, and we'll get into that. I'm pretty sure I work more so a hybrid. And then that was a struggle to get to that, to get to that point. But I do prefer remote work. If I had a choice, I would definitely do remote work as opposed to having to go to a brick wall.
Got you. Yeah, and so the purpose of this show today, I know Tiffany and I yesterday, the last conversation we had here, we were talking about just remote work. We talk very often about remote work, as well as Calvin. We talk about that as well. We're like advocates for us. Like, let's get it. Let's get to it. Is it's the new age, but speaking with my cousin Michelle, which should be on shortly, everyone is not as enthusiastic as I thought they would be. Kind of stepping out my own shoes. I said, this would be a great topic for the next episode, which we can dive into people who are having problems with it and how can they adjust to it, or hey, I just need to be back in the office. I need that separation from home and work. I have difficulties adjusting to it. And I think that is something to talk about in like, how can you become better at working from home? Because some people you're not going to have that option. You may not ever be able to go back in the office again. So how do you adjust to that? And so hopefully she'll be back on within the next 15, 20 minutes. But it prompted me to read some articles about this, about, is it really bad, or are people really talking about it's bad? And I saw a slew of articles mentioning that mental health, like you have some people that are introvert that are like, I'm used to being at home. But once you really, really at home, it's like you don't have an option to go in the office anymore. An introvert can feel kind of like, ooh, this is even difficult for me. You know what I'm saying? So myself, I'm an extrovert. I like to be at the office, but I like the flexibility as well too, to be at home. So I know myself, I had to take some adjustments to, get up, walk, get outside, get some sunlight, because I can get bogged down into just the grind of at my computer every day, all day. Then I may jump to some videos or something and create. So before you know it, I haven't been outside all day. Like, man, I need to go outside, So Tiffany, what do you think about this? I know I told you to table a lot of this stuff because I'm like, girl, say that for the show because you got some good points though. So what do you think?
Well, I can understand those who have that desire to go into the office because they feel like they're getting something out of it. Unfortunately, what I'm hearing a lot of is that their reasons are not really related to what they're doing at work. It's really related to being able to escape. I'm at home with my kids all day. It gives me a place to go. They like that. They like having a place to go. I've heard people say, well, I have better experiences with building relationships with those who are in the office. And I can see how being in the office every day would be pluses for them. But I'm a big proponent in those are self-motivated reasons, and they really have nothing to do with your productivity, you adding value, what you're able to output, what methods you're using to build relationships with those that you're going to be working with when you're working with cross-functional teams, when you're working with global teams, when you're working with teams that are different work streams. I don't personally feel that being in the office is the primary source when I hear their reasons for wanting to be in the office. They're not aligning for me. They're sounding really personal. So that's where I'm kind of like, okay, I understand that it works for you. I just have an issue when you use that methodology and blanket everyone as the reasons why we want to go back to the office. If you legitimately believe that your work environment is better when everyone's in the same space and can collaborate, cool. But if you're telling me your reason to go back in the office is because you feel like you can work better with people, or because you need to escape your kids or your wife or your husband or whatever it is, or you can't separate the work life from the home life, that to me sounds personal, and it's not really aligned with why the organization may want you back in the office.
Okay. And you, Calvin, you're a manager, so we talking about you, in the you're not in the same industry, but you're in a warehouse building type place where people have to put their hands on certain tools and products.
Correct.
So a little supervision may be needed. So how do you feel as a manager about being remote, working with remote people?
Well, when I do hire folks, I'm hiring professionals. So a part of that interview process goes something like this. I'm looking for you to be the adult, responsible individual that I need to be successful and be a part of my team. I don't need anybody that I need to hold your hand, micromanage, things of that nature. So for me, I'm not in a manufacturing state. I'm not in a production-based part of the plant that I work in. So our stuff is more, it takes periods of time to do these types of testing that we're doing. So I have the ability to go. I will go in the office and I'll establish rapport. But today, I had a 7 o'clock meeting with my team. It's a status update. It's a safety update. And then it's marching orders. You guys are working on this. You guys are working on that. I don't have to be present to deliver that message to be effective. And I've been able to do it for a while now and be successful. Whereas upper management didn't really think that was possible for me, but I've proven them wrong. So I'm like Tiffany. I do feel like people are going there for selfish reasons as opposed to what is the job requirement for you? Are you able to meet that? And that's the only thing it should be based on. Mm-hmm. So I'm management, but I'm not traditional management. And I believe traditional management in the South is a little different as well, as opposed to where larger cities, maybe it's a little bit more open-minded and they can see the forest for the trees. So yeah, I'm effective. I'm just as effective as I was because 90% of my work I could do anywhere, literally, unless I need to go. Even if I had to handle something from a disciplinary standpoint, I'm dealing with HR from their house. They're not there. So it's literally the only people that's physically there are the people that are what you just referred to, turning the wrench. That's it.
Okay.
So it's a little different for me.
So I know we talked before about, like you saying, your manager. It may seem like you may not be able to perform or have his own personal reasons why he feel like you shouldn't have status of work from home fully, right?
Yeah.
So or let's say your management team, your peers, your other managers, let's say if some want to be in, some want to be out. As a higher up manager, they want to work, cohesively, like everybody doing the same step. We all work from home or we all in the office.
Right.
So how do you come up with an argument to say I want to be working from home, where John, he said, hey, I want to manage my team in the office. So how do you deal with that?
Well, everybody's situation is different, and we have in this department there's only 77 engineers, so there's only 5 managers. I would make number 6, so 6 total. All of these individuals have always wanted to work remote, so there won't be no we're gonna put the picket fences together to go back to the office out of this group. They all prefer to work remote and continue to want to work remote. There is a plan put in place for those individuals in our department to return to the plant here in another month, but that would only be on a 2-day basis. And then the 3 days, and you pick and choose whichever day you want to come to the office. So that is the plan going forward for us in my department. But so I don't have an argument with them because I really don't even associate with them. I typically only talk to and deal with the director and my immediate manager. I don't associate with the other managers in our department. And it's when in the terms of that type of conversation, I don't. I only deal with them for what type of work do you need to get done. This is the resources going to be assigned to it. So I don't talk to those folks on that level.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I'm the only level of management. I'm the only person on my level of management in the entire department.
Okay.
So there is no coworker, if you will, for me as far as other managers. The rest of those guys are staff.
Okay.
All
right, and again, that's another story too, but that's a little bit strategic.
So, well, I mean, for as like, I don't know how your hierarchy is set up, right? But let's say your division, there's another division, I'm sure, it has a manager. So that manager wants to be in the office. They may be different wrenches that, turning over there in that other department. That's why I was kind of going with that for his holistically.
That's the thing, though. We're one of a kind. Like there's nothing else that exists in my department anywhere else out there.
Okay.
So I'm testing actual nuclear fuel. Nobody else does that out there. So there is no somebody on the same level elsewhere around that area, around the plant.
Well, we're experiencing that at where I'm at right now. So I'm at a Fortune 500 healthcare provider. So, we've been 100% remote. When I came aboard, it was 100% remote. I'm actually in a different city than their home office, but they do have an office in my city. Mm-hmm. And when the conversations about returning to the office kind of came up, because this is not it's not, I work in technology, but because the place that I work is not a technology place, it's a place where they do another type of business. Those associates are expected to come back into the office. So there will be some people who will remain remote, and there will be some people who will report to an office. That being said, what I find interesting is that among that conversation is me and other associates who are not in the same city as the home office, but there's another office in the same city that I live in. And when management had conversations, they said, well, they can just go to that office that's closest to them. And I'm thinking, what sense does that make?
Right.
So yeah. Generally, you just want to get people back in a office.
Right.
But I'm literally going to be going to an office where no one I'm going to be working with on a day-to-day basis is going to be on my team. And so what's the point of me going into that office? So there where we get into what do you really want me to go in the office for? This is why that whole conversation is this underlying thing is what's really, and I'm not finding a consistency on what your message is on why we need to return. Because if you can give me a valid reason, I mean, it's your organization, so you can do what you want. Let me just be clear.
Right.
Ultimately, I have to make a decision when they make a decision on what I'm going to do for myself. Now, me, I've been a remote since 2015. I don't plan on changing that. But I also set those expectations upon interview. Like, don't ask me to relocate. Don't ask me to come down. I'm just not going to do it. It's just, I'm not going to do it. But that might change, depending on what they're saying. Okay, we're going to restructure your contract or your offer. But still, what's the whole purpose? What's the underlying reason you want me there? So if I like to say the old school mentality, you might say, well, I just need to see that you're being productive, which is micromanaging. And again, to your point, Calvin, we're hiring adults. Yeah. Will there be people who piss away their work? Right. They're going to piss it away in the office, or they're going to piss it away at home. That's just the nature of that human being. Right. But I think it's unfair to assume that a remote worker would be somewhat less productive than someone who's going into the office.
Right. I definitely agree with that 100%. I look at it as that management team that says, oh, well, you got to go back to this building for no obvious reasons. It's just a sense of control. I mean, that's how I look at it. Because again, I've been effective at home. I've been able to do you're going to be able to see if the person is doing their work or not. That's going to be very evident. Like, you can't hide that. You're either going to be able to produce whatever they hired you to do, or you're not. And if you're not doing it, and there's a steps you're going to go through to get rid of that person who's not meeting, you're not cutting the bill or whatever. But being in a building does not equate to productivity, depending upon what you do. If your job is admin, you use computers, technology, I don't know, business analyst type, I don't have to be in a building to do that. All I need is a connection and a laptop or whatever device you need to do your job. So I just don't I don't understand that whole you need to be in a building.
Well, Adrian, we've had a conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, because of and it goes into what I'm talking about. Well, you also, Calvin brought up a good topic too, of being a BA. And I've talked with Tiffany about this. It's sometimes better for me to be in the office, honestly, because of the it's like the art of the deal. You're doing a lot of negotiating. Sometimes you have to feel their body language. Sometimes we have our videos off. You don't feel their responses or how they are accepting certain changes that I'm present to them. If they even listening, they're being distracted by their dog or their child or whatever. So I know myself, I had to adjust with, because I told you, Tiffany, one time I did a presentation, and it's like 15 people on there about this email triage process that they threw on me. I presented the thing, and then it's crickets. And I'm like, yeah, if anybody want to give me, I was like, oh, I don't know if I hit or miss, but if I'm in a room and I can see people like, oh, okay, or, ooh, like, I could be like, oh, they didn't get that. So let me dive a little deep. I can feel the room. It's hard to feel the room when you're looking at a screen with emoji profile things or whatever, Yeah. So it's a little hard. It's, trying to sell somebody something over the internet it's a little harder. And I must admit to that, but I had to adapt to it. And I'm still adapting to it. I have a team that I run now. I'm quote unquote a scrum master, and I have to lead these guys every day. And these guys are really quiet. I come on every day. Hey, today, hey, how was Halloween, everybody? How's it good? Everything's good. Everything went well. Blah blah blah. Nothing. I don't know. I'm almost like, am I on mute? Like,
what time was that? And
that's not. But they're normally they're mute. They just don't. And the as I said, the agile coach explained to me that half of the team is an introvert and half of the team are extroverts. So don't feel a certain way when you don't get the response that you expect, or you don't get anything back. They hear you, They just don't want to respond. So as a leader, a new leader, I sometimes need to know if they understood me, if they didn't like what I said, or man, stop talking, man. Like
It's probably the last one. Stop talking. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like,
you're never going to be able to get all of that from every person that you're going to be leading. Also, you may get one person that buys into your approach, but everybody's different. And so the only thing you can control is your delivery, your content. You can control that.
right.
If they want to respond, if they don't want to respond, you say you're still adapting. So one of your adaptations could be, prior to me even going into this presentation, hey guys, because we're remote, because we typically have our cameras off, I'm going to ask that you give me some feedback. If you don't want to verbalize it, put those comments down here in the comments section. I really need that so that I can continuous improvement, right? So that I can continue to grow and get better at this, and we can cater this to more so what we need. That's an adaptation. You may get one or two, you may not, right? But that's how you can kind of improve what you may have an issue with, as far as, well, if I'm not there, I can't get that vibe back.
Okay.
You just change how you present and how you interact with your group based on what you've learned from your group of them not wanting to be vocal during these presentations or whatever, whenever you meet with them.
And I'm going to piggyback off of that, because one of the things that I found that helped me, because I was in a similar position as you, and I'm actually still, trying to figure things out in some different roles they put me in. And when the call starts, there's usually one or two, they trickle in. They don't come in all at once. They kind of trickle in. I just start asking them, how are they doing? How's your day going?
Yeah.
If I'm aware, since played the Scrum Master role in meetings with them, if something carried over from last week and I have notes about it, I'll talk to them briefly about it, and just let them know that I'm personable. I'm here to help them. Hey, if you need additional support on that, let me know. Like that kind of conversation, and that kind of opens people up. I know it works for me because, Agent, we've kind of talked about this. I'm one of those employees who don't want to say nothing at 9 o'clock in the morning. If I'm not leading, I just want to listen on mute, drink my coffee, and read my emails. That's what I want to do. So if somebody gets on there and they're all, bubbly, good morning, how's everybody's Halloween? I'm just like, turn you down a few notches, but that's just me. I'm that employee. But if you start asking me, hey, Tiff, now I saw last week that you got an email from such and such. Do you need any support on that? I saw that they haven't responded. That kind of gets me to open up. You kind of got to finesse people a little bit more in remote, which I like. I like that you have to finesse them more, because honestly, I feel people are more relaxed at the home setting. And they're not such, on this character role that they play when they go into the office, because they all do it. Everybody does it. They play a role. But I feel like they're more relaxed. Their kids might be running around, they're apologizing. If you're letting them, it's no big deal. They tend to be more relaxed and open up a little bit more. That's what I'm.
And we've spoke about the role, playing the role. We can dive deeper into that, playing the role, because I know we just spoke today about you don't want to play the role. Nope. It's easier for you not to play the role when you working from home versus being right there in their presence, and you kind of feel like you have to, or you're kind of pushed to play that role because
you're forced. And as a female, it's an expectation that you play that role. In the past, I've heard comments like, oh, we don't know much about you. Or, I come into your office and we talk, but you never, or this is my favorite. I invited you to my house, or I invited everybody and you never come. And I'm just one of those employees who don't mix personal with work. I just don't. I've been that way my entire life. I have siblings who have married people they worked with. I have friends who have dated people they worked with. I get it. I'm just not one of those people. So because of that, I'm a little bit more closed off, because there seems to be a grayness when you're a female on the boundary. They start asking, are you married? Are you, how many kids do you have? Don't let me come into the office with a different hairstyle. They want to know, is that all your hair? Where does your hair begin? And this and that. And it's just, there's an we're not talking about work. We're not talking about the timeline. We're over here talking about what I'm doing. So that's why I don't like playing the game.
But you know what? This is a good conversation for you as well, because by default, this may not be healthy for you to work from home because, and I find myself doing the same thing being a scrum master. Like I am pushing myself to bond with the team. You don't want to bond with the team, Tiffany.
Oh no, I do, but I want to do it as Tiffany, not as hi, I'm Tiffany. Good afternoon, good morning. I want to do it as hey everybody, how you doing? And just be Tiffany and be relaxed and know because I know my stuff and I know what I bring to the table, and that confidence and not having to second guess myself, where I feel like in the office environment, it's everybody's watching your every move.
Correct.
They're looking for you to make mistakes.
Correct.
You know, they're looking to, and I don't want to make it seem like I have a bullseye, because it's not like that. What I'm saying is when you're in the office, everyone is playing their role and they're playing their position, and they're being this fake friend stuff, and it's not authentic. And I feel like when people are remote, they're authentic. I had a manager the other day, we're having a one-on-one conversation, and he's walking around in his backyard just because he needed to walk around in his backyard. But because of that, we were able to have a very frank and candid conversation that probably wouldn't have happened if we were sitting in the office and across from each other.
Right. Now this may go over to Calvin too, because like I said, I was been pushed into a leadership role, right? So with being a scrum master, you have to it's automatically like a part of the process of being a scrum master. You have to move the team certain ways. You have to feel the team. You're essentially a manager. You're a manager of the scrum process, but you're managing people too. So my manager would like, my agile coach would like for me to build the team and create that camaraderie in the team. So I thought about you this weekend, Tiffany, because like we have a chat that this guy added on my personal phone, right? He sent a group chat to my personal phone like last week, and I get on Sunday I get a text of him in a Mr. Clean outfit. This is my Halloween outfit. And I'm like, who is this? And I'm like, oh, this is this my manager. Like, dude, man, it's Sunday, man. I don't want. So I felt like I had to but that's what he's on, and he's wanting me to do that stuff. So I give it to any manager that, especially if you're in a new environment, new team, working remotely, to lead a remote team, it's tough. It's tough for me because every morning, sometimes I roll up off that couch in the morning, I done fell asleep, and I'm like, oh, I gotta give him a call. I got to come on there with energy because I don't really want to talk to y'all. But I know as a scrum master, I have to come on with energy. I have to lead the team. I have to lead with energy. I can't be like, all right, man, y'all got any impediments or blockers today? All right, Sophia, do you have any? That's how I feel inside. You know what I'm saying? Because Calvin, I ain't no morning person, man.
No, you're night owl. I am a morning person though. But
right. So I'm telling you, I've always wanted to be a scrum master, and I got but leading it remotely is way harder for me. I'm really on the deep end. So what are you? Because see, your team. You've been your team for what, 10 years?
Who? Right? Can you hear me?
How many years you been with your team?
With me?
Yeah.
No, this area I've only been there for 4 years, but just a little history though. When I got there, half of them, 2 of them retired and 2 of them quit because they weren't going to work for me. So that's a whole other. So but that's been a good thing for me because I got a chance I got a chance to build a team that I wanted to build and get rid of the cancers that would have been a thorn in my side. So so 4 years is how long I've been there with. How long I've been in the department, and I've only been with the one guy for the whole 4 years. Everybody else I've hired. Yeah, so that's good. I'm with Tiffany with the boundaries, and I just got one of those group chats as well from my team. I don't like that. I don't want to talk to you from a leisure standpoint, I don't care about. I don't want to be a part of that conversation. If the team wants to have that conversation, that's okay. If y'all want to talk about taking your kids out and your Halloween costume, don't include me in that conversation. We need to keep the wall.
I don't want it to be forced upon me.
I don't want to be a part of it.
I'll give you an example because this just happened. So we have a new person on our team, and they've expressed a lot about how they miss being in the office. Oh, I miss being in the office, blah, blah, blah. And so, the idea came that because Halloween weekend fell on a Friday, let's all turn our cameras on and all get costumed up and decorate our backgrounds in a Halloween theme.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so basically everybody's on the call with whatever their makeshift Halloween costume is for the day. I'm literally, I work out in the morning before work. So I'm literally usually coming in about 2 minutes before my first call on Friday. So I threw on my official uniform or whatever and was like, oh, I'm an official, and had my flags or whatever. And they were like, oh. So she sent me a message don't be lazy, make sure you participate. So it's that forcing it upon me, with that expectation that I'm supposed to, be a part of this, which I understand what you're trying to do. I just feel like when you force people to build relationships, but they're also the ones who text you and say, hey, come hang out. Do you want to hang out this week? Or, hey, and I'm just like, you can't really say. I want to say, no, I don't hang out with coworkers. But at the same time, you still have to play the game. I may not want to be in the office every day, but you still got to play the game, remote or not. You still got to play a game.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. They pushing it. They're pushing it now even more because you have that disconnect. They want to get that closeness. They want
to be personal.
They want that personal.
They want to be personal.
That's so you don't. What it is. But that was the thing. That was the thing back then. They would say you spend more time with your work people than you do with your home. So I think they're trying to keep that same energy even though you're home. Which your home kind of takes some of your time or whatever. So they're trying to get that back. So I
don't understand that mentality. Why would you want me to spend more time focused on coworkers than what makes me a better person, therefore a better coworker?
Okay. Yeah. So
if it's not affecting my productivity, has it decreased because of it?
I think people have they have the relationship, the work relationship stuff intermingled with success, good teamwork, productivity, where
absolutely
personal IQ is different. Your not necessarily learning style, but your personality doesn't equate to that. And so you don't fit that typical mold. And so what needs to happen, I know you're trying to be nice and not say it, but typically, hey guys, Tiffany don't like this. I'm sorry. She doesn't mean any harm. She's a good person. Everybody knows her, but it's not really her thing. So don't feel offended as your manager or whoever the manager. This is what I would say to the group. Don't take it personal if I don't participate in this, or if you don't see me at the group cookout. I'm just a little different, and I would just ask that everybody respects that.
So but that don't fly. Huh? You know that don't fly. Because let me tell you how I know.
I'm outspoken, Tiffany. I say stuff that I probably shouldn't say a lot.
When I first got into software, I worked on the business side, which means I was on the people side, on how they pick people, who's going to go to what project. And if you work in this field, that most fields, right around Q4, they start having conversations about who's going to be here in Q1 and Q2 and who ain't. And I cannot tell you how many times they have accepted mediocrity from somebody they like than somebody who's excellent that they did not like personally. Which is why I still play the game. You're going to like me. I'm a likable person. You're going to like me, but I'm not. You're going to like me at work so much so that you're going to demand more of me, of my personal me at work, because you like me. And that's the problem. That's what I have a problem with. I can't be likable to you without you wanting to know more of me and have more of me. And that is like creepy as hell to me. That's creepy. It's just creepy.
I get it. Makes sense.
Okay. I have my good cousin here, Michelle, is about to come on. I'm gonna bring her on, and she is on right now.
Hi,
Michelle,
everybody.
can you hear
Hi.
me?
Hey, Michelle.
I can. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. See that beautiful
Good
painting in the
evening.
background. Looking good. Thank you. Thank you. Quickly, I will introduce this is my good friend Calvin in the top right.
Hey.
And I have Tiffany, which is
Hi,
next to you.
Tiffany.
Hi,
How are you?
Michelle. How
How's
are
it
you?
going? Good evening,
Good.
everybody.
Good evening.
Yes, yes. I'm glad you could join us. And we've been, just talking about the whole work remote ups and downs, who like it, who don't like it. And I was telling them that you and I had a conversation last Monday, I believe, when I came to your place, and you kind of stemmed this conversation with me in my head that I was like, you know what? We all been like, hooray, hooray. We get to work from remote, and like some people are not so happy about it or just having challenges with it, like just with work-life balance.
Yeah.
That's the biggest key. But then it's like work-life balance from the office was usually the key, but now it's like work-life balance from the home. So let's get a little deeper into what we was talking about Monday and things. First, you can give a little introduction about, you don't have to express your company where you work for, but you do a lot of resource searching. So we'll dig into that a little bit later too. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York. Lived here in Atlanta for 15 years. My background is digital media. Worked in corporate finance, doing trading and sales for a couple of years, and then circled back and went into the digital media financial side of things, but working with various teams to, fulfill productions and fast moving, forever changing, social optimization, so forth, working with various teams, trying to connect the dots in a lot of ways, from, whether it was tech or digital production or overall just being a good strategic partner with various groups, between US and, our intercompany partners that may be abroad as well. So that is kind of who you have on the phone, juggling multiple projects at the same time simultaneously and trying to overall keep balance, and being a mom of two boys, one is sophomore in college, one now in middle school, and working in this pandemic and, seeing all the different variables that people have, but also to leading a small group of women, and being supportive and volunteering at the same time too. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of stuff that I do is people driven.
Okay.
If that kind of sums that up, and
Right.
moving the needle forward. So, yeah, that's it. Do you go ahead, Adrian?
Oh no. I was giving Tiffany a little bit of information about you pre-show about things that you do and how I came up with the show idea based on you and things that you said you were kind of struggling with, like juggling the kids and the work
Yeah.
and other goals you have that you want to work on.
Yeah.
And you expressed how it was challenging, and I was also talking with Tiffany about that the office may not be a avenue anymore where we may not be able to go back to the office. So like, what would she do if you didn't have to go back? You could never go back into the office. Or based on your avenue where you work in, like I work in IT, you're more like in the HR, like, HR is very human relatable. Like you have to talk with people. But I was saying as well, like I remember we used to get resumes. You was having 3 resumes. You had your little briefcase or leather folder, and you go into an office and nobody's doing that no more. Nobody's going to HR department, sitting down, waiting for them to call your name, so you have to adapt with it, even in every profession, the employee and the employer, so yourself, if you are not able to go back into the office, what are things that you're trying to work on to better help yourself with working remotely?
Yeah. So let me back up. When I was first starting in New York and I was 19 and I was like, oh my God, I'm ready to conquer the world. I'm ready to see all the great glimpse, glamour, lights, all that stuff. One of the things that that was very important to me, and I think it's something we all need to have right alongside of no matter what we have going on in our life, is what true balance means for you, from a mind body perspective, right? Because we all can take on thousands of things, but it does affect the mind and the body, right? So to me, one of the things that was very important to me that I said I wanted in my life as I got started in New York, fast paced, in technology, working, producing content, just moving all over prior to me having kids, was I want balance. I want balance with how I show up every day. What does that mean taxing on my mind? What does that mean taxing on my body? Because as I was explaining to Adrian last Monday, I said, being in this work from home, which has always been probably a perk for me that I never took advantage of until COVID happened. My life was very, very busy. I know that's a cliche word, but yes, true. In fact, I can identify all the millions of things going on between work, kids, volunteer, so forth. And I'm just moving, I'm just going. Being a mom, to me, working from home was more challenging because, and that's what led me to talk to Adrian about it, is because the type of business, that we all do, and Steve Jobs said this, you have to find a business that you are passionate about, because work tends to be the majority of your life, right? So depending on what you're doing in life may drive everything else around that. So for me, I'm doing jobs that require me to really mentally put a lot of focus and emotions into this job. That I have to be detail oriented, I have to be focused, I have to be diligent. I'm dealing with people constantly that are asking me to drive or make decisions or help them strategize and partner with them on so many different levels, and then come home, and depending on what that day looks like, right? Because we all have good days, bad days, coming home and wanting to show up for my kids, right? I got these busy kids that, to me, when I knew I was going to work in a people's business and I knew how important that was for me, was relationships, I had to really think about what my intentions was when it came to that, meaning mental and emotional. What does that mean when you're dealing with people? How do you manage when things are good, when things are bad? What does that mean? For me, knowing that I have to deal with a lot of people that make heavy decisions, then I have to make decisions, regardless if that goes good or bad, it requires me to pull in a lot of my emotional intelligence that sometimes can be very draining. And I prefer for me to have space between all the different sectors in my life, being mom, being big business, being, volunteering, giving my time, and then myself, checking back in with myself. So working from home was not my forte, even though I had that perk, because I felt like, for me, I want to be intentional about all my relationships. I want work stays at work. When I come home, I want to be intentional about my emotions and my attention that I give to my kids. I want to show up in a certain way for them. I don't want to be at home where I create a space for it to be filled with serenity, And then I'm dealing with multiple people, which again, people is people. But how I respond, how I show up, how I let those days drive my emotions can also play a part in how I show up for my other relationships that are 24/7 jobs at the end of the day. So working from home was not something that I felt was for me. But the fact that I have to work from home, it also gave me a chance to say, you drive, that word busy can take you on a lot of different spirals. Sometimes even being too busy, you don't even show up for yourself. So I'm a big person of separating and looking at all four of the aspects that we all drive: spiritually, physically, emotionally, mentally. Pretty much throughout your days, mental and emotions are kind of driving your days. You're either emotionally making decisions, tying it in with mental stimulation that can be either frustrating, or it can be great, right?
Right.
Then trying to think about, if things don't work out, how do I internalize that on the body physically? Do I have enough time that or did I allow what the day in the situations in the day that drives my day from a mental emotional perspective, and giving all this energy to that? Do I show up for myself physically? Meaning, did I go work out, or did I cancel my workout because I'm overly busy? Different things like that, that to me, you have to find a way to replenish that stimulation of emotion and mental attributes that you give out all day. And whatever you're working on, whether it's business, personal relationships, situations we have with families that may not be in good condition, all those things that we have to make responses for sometimes can affect us physically. So COVID definitely helped me to say, okay, this is not your idea for working from home. You like to separate your environments. Home is where I keep serenity. However, let's also focus in on your physical and spiritual side to see where you can pull in those two attributes to help you manage the mental and emotion that you're dealing with at home. Because your job now is 24/7. You don't have a break to get in the car, switch gears, to get yourself ready for your kids when you come home. You're going from work 24/7, and now we're working from home. Sometimes think work from home is 24 hours. And I'm like, no, I got to learn to cut that off,
Right.
because when my kids come in, I'm either still working, and it's shortening my attention with some of the things that I need to focus in with them. So I had to learn, just like any of us, and I can be a creature of habit sometimes, is how do I find balance in this new work from home life that you now have to operate, when before you had more control? Now it feels like you still have control, but you have to be unique how you control what you can control.
Right.
And
Right.
in the space that you prefer to only have personal, not too much business.
Right.
So that was critical
So,
for me, which me and Adrian had talked about.
and like I said, I was thinking in my own shoes, but I have been married before, and so I can relate in certain aspects as well as with the kids. But now in this climate that I'm in, divorce, have my daughter every other weekend, I'm thinking in another light. So like somebody like Calvin, I mean, you're at the same level, managerial level. You're married. You got two beautiful kids. So, are you having the same thing with that work-life balance, like, or you just
No,
young?
I think if so, I have a 17 and a 13, but I'm blessed to have some smart kids. I should say that. I
Okay.
don't have to do as much now. When COVID hit, and I'm very involved with school, but when COVID hit initially, my son had a real struggle for him, because you're telling a 12-year-old to be focused on a computer screen all day long.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a gaming PC behind him,
Yeah.
there's a cell phone with YouTube on it and whatever else, and he wants to play Roblox and all this stuff. And so when I started finding out that that's going on, then I had to adjust, and I had to take a different approach with school with him. My daughter, you just put her on cruise control. I literally don't have to do anything but check the grades in the morning when I'm taking the dog out to use the bathroom. But him being back in school face to face now, I don't have to. I'm lucky, man. I wish you didn't have that either, Michelle. But I don't have the stresses as far as having to manage that. The only thing I have with the son of mine is he's a boy, so every now and then he's gonna do boy stuff.
And then and you know it's so weird because both my boys were graduating and going to the next level, and Adrian can tell you my kids are just as busy as me. We drive from my calendars. You know, they play a lot of sports. So we're very, very active people. And when you're managing all these active schedules and then tie into a lot of the teachers, it was emotional for them. So you're also having to extend to bridge emotional relationships with teachers because they are not happy about the process. We're also trying to keep the kids engaged. So it's as though I have meetings with teachers and then I have meetings with work. And then I'm trying to keep the morale of my own kids focused and positive as they are changing to new levels, you know, and it still requires for me to be like, hey, is everything working out? I can't get to you, but what do you need? Or mom, I got to be picked up. Mom, I need that, you know, so I've always been mobile in a sense of, you know, even at games, I'm like, take your laptop, take the backpack, take the Dora Explorer, because you know you're going to have calls and different things like that to kind of find ways to make things a little bit more streamlined for myself because I tend to be very active myself. But when things did change, it not only changed how I had to work, it became more of an emotional strain on a lot of people that I do work with. So not necessarily was I just dealing with my own restructure of the work from home, but the extended relationships of, again, we spend a lot of time with the people we work with, right?
Right.
And they become somewhat of the people in your life you see the majority of as well. If their situations have changed due to COVID, you're trying to be as positive for yourself and show up positive for yourself. Now you're showing up positive, having to show up extra positive for people you work with because their situations may be a little bit different than what my situation is. However, I have business to conduct with them. Right. And that was also a different type of challenge of, okay, we have to have more flexibility in this work from home thing because my schedule necessarily did not change. It was busy throughout the whole COVID. Adrian can tell you that. However, it did require of me to be more flexible, work longer hours because situations did change emotionally for people that I had to work with. And then showing up to be extra supportive, which I am a very supportive person, to show up and add an extra component of support for people who may have been affected by this work from home, probably struggle more in different scenarios than myself. But they also needed a sounding board. Some people need an extra ear. You don't know what the people you work with, how much COVID actually changed their status, but I still have to work with them because they didn't necessarily quit their job, but they brought their stress or emotions to work video calls. Right. It was so many different variables that we all were jumping in on. And that, again, as you're taking more from other people, which that's what we're supposed to do, connecting.
Somebody call you. Somebody called you.
Is it good? Oh, shit. Oh.
was somebody call it, it'll shut your
mic off.
voice. Yeah.
So while she's on mute, I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
I found it interesting, all of the comments that were coming through, a lot of the things that Michelle talked about. One, I find it a lot of people who need that structure of going into the office. That kind of helps them to place some kind of structure when you're going into the office. But I found something very interesting that she said, and she talked about giving of herself emotionally to people who needed it.
Hello, can you see me?
Yeah, we see you.
Okay.
And I was just commenting about a few of the things that you had said. One, I appreciate the fact that you established that you needed that structure of going into the office, kind of helps you be able to manage your lifestyle. And I thought it was interesting that your lifestyle really is what drives whether your desire to be in the office or remote. That was a driving factor for you, was that structure. But I found something that you said very interesting, and it's probably going to take us a little bit off topic.
I can't hear you all.
Hold up.
Okay.
Oh, she muted herself, and then she done fell out. But go.
Okay. So what I was going to say is the emotionally taxing stuff she talked about. How you're emotionally, that's part of that role I said that we were talking about earlier. It can be emotionally taxing. And I'm going to sound like the real crazy one, but I don't allow people to do that. I have a coworker now who wants to be able to do that. And I allow it for such a, I keep it on the outside. Like, she'll tell me stuff and I'm just like, I'll encourage her, but I don't allow the conversation to keep going, in other words. And maybe that's wrong of me, but I kind of feel like people are using those that we talked about, those that you work with every day, as this, sounding board. And I don't think that's fair to me we're all dealing with the same time period, to kind of put that on me.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't take that responsibility. I don't accept that. I don't absorb that. I give, I try to give out positive energy and positive vibes, and I'm very encouraging, but I don't allow that interpersonal connection enough to be in a position to be a sounding board and this and that. I just don't allow that, because that takes away space and energy from the people that I want to give it to on my own.
Right.
I hope I'm saying that correctly.
I think I know where you're going. Like, I think how I find myself falling into that trap, like, you feel like because they gave something to you personal, usually it's the human nature to give something back to somebody's personal. Like, she shared something personal with me. Oh, girl, I understand, because I be doing that same thing. I think it's a human interaction that naturally happens. And you were saying that, okay, you invited something, or you gave me something personal of you. Don't expect nothing back in return from me.
Yeah, I think my personal response to you is going to be encourage or commentary on what you provided for me, but don't expect me to offer anything to you in that sense, where, I have to do I don't do tit for tat. If I offer something, I'm just offering it because I felt compelled to offer it. But I'm a very guarded person in that sense, because I don't do the whole interpersonal work relationship thing. I do the corporate thing. When I say that, I hope you all know what I mean by that. I'm very corporate. I'm very corporate, but outside of that, I'm not. And I feel like I have the right to set that boundary, because I'm experiencing some level of discomfort during this time as anyone else is. And me having to, motivate myself takes a lot. And I think my coworker says, you're so easy to talk to. And that puts me in that position where I know that. But I have to save some for myself, for my family members, for my children. For my dog, I got to save some of that for everyone around me. And you're asking me to give some of that up for you. And I want to help you, but I got to have a boundary. Especially as an empath, because when you're really empathetic to people, you tend to give more of your empathetic energy to people. And that is life for other people who don't have that. That's life for them. and
Right.
they're sucking from you and you're giving, and now you have nothing left for yourself.
And that leads me to Calvin, because I actually tabled something that you said earlier when I brought up the group. Okay, Michelle, my new group put a work group chat on my personal phone. Sent this Halloween picture. Hey, this is what I did on Halloween. Sent that on Sunday. I ain't working. Why are you sending me this? So Calvin said, I don't want to be put in that. I'm in a more of a manager role where I sometimes feel like I have to kind of, mingle with the team, just this, hey, we all doing this together, team scrum. So Calvin, why not, get with the team and gel with the team? Is it more of a manager worker non-relationship, or just that, hey, I don't want y'all in my business, I don't want to be in y'all business?
I just think there's a level of going too far with management and then direct reports. And so when I say I don't want to be a part of a personal group chat, at the same time, I took that group out and paid for lunch on my dime, not the company's dime. So we can bond and we can have discussion. We can talk, we can interact at work. I don't want to be a part of, hey, did you watch the football game last night? Chat. If I'm at work, okay. But I don't want to be on your phone I talk to my friends on the phone. And so that's the difference for me. And the reason why I would say that now, even more so after being in management for a length of time, is some people are going to take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. And they're going to begin to expect certain things from you. Oh, come on, man. You can look at, you understand, right? I mean, and not everybody has pure or good intentions when they go down those paths. So Tiffany said a very profound thing, in my opinion. I know somebody that manages your split personality. And I'm actually not like that. I am very team oriented. Not saying you're not team oriented, but like open at work. This particular individual is black and white 24/7, but I respect that person 100% because he will never deal with the stuff that I put upon myself by being as open as I am and listening and doing this and doing that. That some of that stuff I probably should just table and say, hey, no. When you do that and you take that approach and you reciprocate that to everybody in your team, there's a standard. Therefore, you don't have to worry about those things because they understand. But when you don't do that, and and I think I might be more like Michelle, and even you yourself, because we know each other, you subject yourself to things that are going to affect you emotionally, mentally. It's who you are as a person. So that's why you do it. And you know it's going to happen. So and so is going to do it again. It's only a matter of time because you put yourself in that predicament. So you can protect those things. It's abnormal and it's unnatural for you to be like Tiffany.
Right. You know what, too, I totally agree with you. And I agree with what Tiffany said. What I last heard was on boundaries, because, just being in a, setting that's, again, it's not our family. Again, sometimes we have left, right family, we can't all control. We can come from the same house and all have different views as a family as well. But when you're in a work environment and you kind of know, at the end of the day, I always said I got like 40 hours or, 8 hours here. The rest of the time is mine. Right. I'm a big believer is I treat people the way that I would like to be treated, regardless if they treat me the same. That has always been my golden rule of how I choose to show up. However, I do consider in when I'm working with people, which again, emotion's going to come in regardless of who they are, because again, perception's everything when you're working with people. But I do also respect and wanting to know, because I'm in media, we're in fast moving business sectors, everything's changing on the dime. Again, feelings, emotions are going high, emotions are going low, they're going left and right. With that said, boundaries, no matter on what level it is, whether you want to be kind, whether you want to be a good listener, whether you want to give more time or whatever, I think boundaries is still important in any work environment that you have. but I do keep the flexibility of knowing, Michelle, you can control how you show up. You can't control how other people show up, but I am a person that I like to leverage.
Oh, there went our audio again.
For myself, of how many tasks or projects am I trying to complete in one day? And sometimes, depending on the person you're dealing with, that may or may not come off and go right. Because at the end of the day, if you need something for someone and you're waiting for them for hours, it can disrupt how long this is going to look like, right? So I'm a big believer of, you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Of also having boundaries and what that means, but also bringing in emotions, because some people don't show up how I need them to show up as well. So we can complete whatever the project is, but I want to make sure that I am being compassionate to a certain degree, that we can still agree to disagree. I can give you an ear if it's genuinely needed, but if not, let's kind of stay focused to making this day more positive, because we are driving multiple projects at the same time.
Right.
And that brings me to the whole balance thing.
Right. We are getting close to the end of this show, but it was one thing, Michelle, that I wanted to just probe about. Based on when I was over there Monday, because you do resource management, like you found resources for said projects, right? Now you are hiring all fully remote individuals for numerous projects, different type of resources, devs, all that. What are you looking for when you are trying to acquire a resource for a project remotely? Like these are all fully remote, right? That you're looking for right now, right?
Yes. So, and I mean, that's one of the things that I do. So a lot of times, for the sake of remote, when I'm looking for candidates, I tell them the number one thing is communication, right? I think that is something that with digital, people tend to get away from, but with work from home, that is critical. And it's critical in the sense of communicate with me thoroughly with what your true needs are in a work from home environment, so that we can accommodate you to the best of our ability within the confines that we're working with. Because work from home is no different to me when you're sick and you're like, God, I can't call out. Well, if you didn't communicate to tell me you're sick, I'm only expecting for you to be here, right?
Right.
It's no different to me with work from home. Is I think the nice part of working from home is we all have to factor in flexibility. But with flexibility comes transparency, communication. Tell me what works for you in this work from home environment, because I'm already considering you having a need for flexibility, right? So that is number one key. And to me, I just feel like communication right now with work from home, I don't know any other word other than that is the catalyst for this process that we're in. Leverage and tell me what's going on. I may not be able to accommodate everything, but I can only control what you communicate with me. So that is key, so that I can make sure we can figure out how to make a situation between a candidate and a hiring manager a win-win.
Okay, so I think we spoke about a California resource. I think you had a California dev guy you were looking, no, VP. You were looking for a VP, I think, in California.
Somebody, yeah. I can't just call it, yeah.
So you're in East Coast. This job may be in East Coast. You got somebody in California, 3-hour time difference. Like, does that persuade you from not looking for that candidate if he's in California and it's an East Coast contract, or vice versa? Or
No, not necessarily. It all depends on, again, communication and flexibility. Tell me what I have to work with within your true transparency of what you're looking for, and then let me talk to my counterparts to see what can we do to meet some of those needs, to see if this is actually an opportunity we can move forward with. If it's not, let's see what's tier 2. If it's not a need for this one, is there another need someplace else on the West Coast that we can either pivot to see if we can still leverage this candidate? So I think flexibility and communication drives how we all interact from a work from home on a global scale. You know, if I don't know what your status is and you're not giving me anything, it's no different than a bidding war. You know, if I'm bidding something on eBay, I'm looking for the best price, right?
right.
You know, and you have every right to say, hey, I can meet you here. I may just say, yep, that's a win-win. You know, so I think, you know, we've gotten away. Digital did to me what we all were looking for. It's taking away some of the mediocre tasks that we had to manage. If you think about paper, right? Paper pushing, right? But it allows us as people, coworkers, business leaders, to be able to communicate on a human level of what we are truly asking for and where we can be flexible and accommodating the needs that are a little bit different than the old school kind of job recs, right? You know, applying in the New York Times, waiting for recruiters to get back to you. You can't really disclose what you're looking for. The situation may not work, but you're in dire strait and you need this job, but you're afraid to say, I got a sick parent at home that I take care of. Where we are, fast forward today, you can disclose that information. You know, one of the things that I was a little different for me when I moved here in Atlanta, and I appreciate Atlanta helping me with this, is the market in New York, when I went for interviews, were way different. They didn't ask you about your personal life. It was, can you do the job? Do you have the skills? Show me your resume. You know, tell me about that. We stayed on just that level right there. When I moved here and started going on interviews, it was very different for me for someone to say, do you have a family? Like, what made you move here? And I was like, oh my God, is this part of my interview?
Yeah.
Like, if I tell them, will I get the job? But in my mind, that was something I always don't mind disclosing. But we used to think that would hinder us from telling too much, but rightfully so. That is the second job we do when we leave work. I can give you 8 hours, but I may have another 8 hours that I have to dedicate to my elderly parent, my children, my wife, my husband. We have another business. Some other personal things are going on. And we was like, that job's not going to give us flexibility. Let's just take what we can get. Now it allows you to be able to, you know, express and take off some of that pressures, because we want people to show up and be productive, right?
Right.
We want you to show up and give me your best talent. The talent you thought wasn't talent is the talent that I may want.
Right. That's
but
the
if
one.
you tell me, I can say, we can work with you.
Right. That's the one thing I do like about working remote now, is that working, like, I really don't want any more contracts in the South. Like, I prefer them to be up north, maybe Midwest, definitely West Coast, because the vibe is a lot different. You made me thought about that, because the southern headquartered companies here, it's about what college you went to, maybe how you look per se. It's very judgmental in the South, whereas it's all about the fit, you know. But like in New York contracts, West Coast, Midwest, it's all about, can you do the job? It ain't about, like, you know, tell me.
But you know what, Adrian, the reason why I brought that up is because for me, starting in New York and being trained a certain way to not disclose, but there's a creative side to me. Like, I probably need that flexibility. Atlanta allowed me to get comfortable with that in a sense of how I present. You know, we all market ourselves, right? It helped me to be more flexible in saying, you're at a time in your life where you've done the legwork. You've worked these long jobs. You've taken the back seat. You've been the only Black girl in these corporate worlds. You know, when you're sitting there and you have to take your kid to a basketball game, but they want you here. You can't even say, I need to leave, or my kid is sick. And I can't say I need to leave because they're expecting me to be here, right? When I moved here, getting more comfortable with that. And then again, I feel like everything plays a part in a much broader scale. It helped me to say the next level of your career is to start getting more comfortable with including your personal life in the sense of when you need to walk out that office for your kids, get comfortable in saying, I have an appointment that I have to take my kids and I will be back here later. Because now when I kept that disclosed and I did ask people like, oh my God, she has kids. She has to leave. She has a family. We never knew that. Atlanta helped me to get more comfortable with knowing people may ask for whatever intentions they have, but it helped me to go to the next level in my career to say, start acknowledging in your business life, I have a family. When I need to leave for an appointment, I am walking out that door. It doesn't discredit me from not being able to do this job. However, it will be here when I get back.
Yeah. Michelle, I love that you say that.
To allow myself that opportunity to show up for my family and not just sit there at my desk like, how do I tell these people I got to go to a meeting? My kid got in trouble. I'm just throwing out examples. My kid is sick and waiting in the nurse's office, but I have to go to a meeting. And if I leave, would I be judged because I had to go pick up my kid from school? That helped me, but it helped me in a sense to say, add that to your marketing platform when Michelle is pitching for what Michelle wants. You cannot continue to keep that side of your life quiet. No different than you can give this job 8 hours and you're dealing with either people who are coming in with all their mess, you're taking on their energy, you're trying to get this job done, and then you have to turn around and go home and deal with your family. Show up for your family with the same intentions you give this job. Include that in your marketing pitch. Now, again, know what your intentions are when you do that. How do I, and that's what it brings me back to when I talk about communication. When I communicate and someone's asking me, tell me who you are, I am now going to say, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a group leader. These are the things of who I identify myself with. Now, if you want specifics, we can talk. That's all I need to disclose. I learned to show up with all the things that I am managing, but I'm communicating that in a way that doesn't discredit me as a professional. It helps me to grow to be a better professional, if that makes sense. And it sets the platform for me to communicate what my true ask and flexibility can be to deliver on the job, as well as knowing I can also show up for my family and my personal life.
I think what you said is excellent, because what I've learned, I did the other way, but what I've learned lately and I've applied to my life is understanding the importance of having a workplace, right? Of having your job, of what you're doing for your career. But what I've embraced, and Adrienne will tell you this, I'm very picky and selective about recruitment opportunities or jobs, and I'm very transparent with them. And I'm okay losing that opportunity because of my transparency. I'm okay telling them that, hey, I am an official for USA Track and Field. So occasionally on the weekends, I travel to meets to officiate. So that's usually Saturday and Sundays. Every once in a while, it's during the week, but I'll take off for that. But that's an important piece. It's an important passion of mine. I remember when I got the latest contract, I was finishing my degree, and I told them, this is the most important thing in me, is for me to complete my degree. So if what you're going to have me do in the first 90 days is going to be an inhibitor to that, then this is not the right role for me. And I was okay with saying that. Some people are not okay with, they're just trying to get the opportunity. I am not one of those people. I need to be in a position to where that's going to fit my lifestyle so that I can be the best employee or the best person for that role at that time. My pitch to them is always, I'm looking for a mutually beneficial relationship. I'm looking for the win-win. I'm looking where I can come there and give who I am, a key contributor, add value to the team. But I'm also looking for a place that allows me the flexibility to grow as an individual, that allows me to invest in my personal goals, allows me to invest in my passions, because all that does is accumulate into me being a better person for whoever I'm coming in contact with, whether it be employee or otherwise. So that's usually my pitch. And I've become comfortable with telling recruiters, asking them questions. Tell me about your work-life balance. How are you supporting your employees in that? Tell me about your remote opportunities. Are you looking for 100% remote people? Because I like that flexibility to be able to travel and do meets at the same time. Being in different cities and still work and be productive and be a value add to my organization, but still being able to pursue my personal passions or give to my family. And this is what changed me. Unfortunately, it was a bad situation. My father passed away. I was a contractor at the time. And when you're a contractor, you don't get paid time off. You just take that day as a loss. And they blatantly told me they would give me 1 day to have bereavement, but I was expected to be back in the office and working full time, as expected. And that made me, and the second thing that kind of was the icing on the cake was I had a CEO tell us that when you wake up in the morning and you go to bed at night, what you do for this organization should be the first thing on your mind and the last thing on your mind. And that let me know that, as well as watching people get hired and fired without any, rhyme or reason. That just made me realize, like, hey, I like to work. I like having money. I like moving up in my career. I like navigating it. I like the hustle and bustle. But I also have personal passions that I like to pursue. And so I'm going to make time out for those things at all cost. Like I'd rather take a lower paying position. I'd rather pass up on a position that may be an amazing opportunity in my career to keep my peace.
I'll piggyback off of that. So same thing, bad experience. It snowed pretty badly here. And if you live here, you realize we don't get snow. So a half of an inch will kill people. And it'll be a 10-car pileup outside on the interstate. But anyway, I woke up that morning and I'm new in management. And I said, I got to go to work. And my wife's like, don't get on the highway. It's dangerous. It's ice. It's not worth it. I said, oh, no, I got to go to work. Like work was that important. My role was that important. I didn't want to, disappoint anybody in upper management. I wanted to continue to build my career. And so halfway there, I nearly crashed my truck. I mean, like twice I slid off the road and I still went to work. And I never forgot that, because when I got there, half of the workforce was not there, which they shouldn't have been. But the VP was there and he's like, yeah, I'm glad you came in. But to me, it was the wrong message. Family and life should be way more important than any career, any salary, any job. You should never allow either one of those things to supersede the people that matter to you the most. And it's not your job. If it is your job, I'm just going to tell you that, me personally, my opinion, that is a little different. I'll just say that. I use the word different. And so going forward in management, I make sure that I convey to my group, my direct reports, your life outside of this job is just as, if not important to me, than it is when you're here doing this job. Because if you're not good at home, if you don't feel comfortable and confident coming to me saying, hey, man, I really have this issue going on, I'm not going to have you 100% while you're here anyway. I need that 100% you here as most frequent as I possibly can. So whatever I need to be able to do to empower you to be able to take care of, hey, my daughter's sick today. Well, guess what? You're a hard worker. I understand. I have kids. Go take care of your family. When I do that, when I give that to the people who work for me, it only helps everybody. That person is going to give me 110% because they says, hey, man, this guy realizes I have a life outside of my job. He knows I'm not trying to just get over on him. I got to go take care of something that's important to me. So therefore, I feel like it's very important for management to set that standard for people that work for them. You should make sure you convey. It shouldn't be a shadow of a doubt. But that CEO guy, I mean, he got to where he got to for a reason. I just don't agree with that approach. I would never tell
the word. You said empowered. You empowered them to make the decision for themselves. Right. And when you give them that power to make the decision for themselves, I guarantee you they're going to make the right decision because they're understanding that you're giving them the flexibility to go handle a situation so they can devote the remaining of the time or whatever time to you. And that builds loyalty, it builds trust, and all the things that they tell you what's going to happen when you go in the office. That one action actually does, I think, in my opinion.
I agree. Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The people who take their power, and we can go deep into this. The people who take their power. It's some other people out here in this world.
Other people
that don't look like us. That and I've worked on projects where, especially around this time right here. Mm-hmm. Oh, let me tell you right now. In the next 2 weeks, no, they already put their time in. I'm gonna be off the Thanksgiving drop on a Thursday. I'm gonna be off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'll be back on Monday if I feel like it. Mm-hmm. Oh, let me tell you, for Christmas, I'm just gonna be off. I'm gonna be off the whole month of December. I'm just gonna be off the whole month. What does Tom do? Tom is probably the only dev resource on that platform. Well, how are you going to get this project done if Tom is off all of December? So Tom can go ahead and do that. At that point, this was a couple of contracts ago, I started to realize, but not even realize, understand that I'm worthy, and because other times when I've been on projects, the only people in there all December, they look like me. Mm-hmm. The other people who took their time off ain't coming back to the New Year's. The third, not the second, they come back in the third or fourth New Year's. Don't look like me. So I had to realize that I had to realize that I'm worthy enough, to take my time. It ain't like I'm asking for something. You gave me 2 weeks. I done waited up, and you gonna say, "Oh well, we kind of short staffed." No, Tom done took off. You should have thought about that when Tom took off the whole month. You should have, worked the schedule out to where everybody could have had a skeleton crew. No, Tom, you're going to take 2 weeks.
PTO stands for prepare to others, prepare everybody else. I'm not going to be here. That's what PTO stands for. It's not personal time off. It is prepare the others.
Yeah, so it's funny y'all mention that about certain things. So you have to take your time. You have to say, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take my kids to this basketball game. No, I got a track meet that I done put in for two months ago. I'm taking my time,
Let's go back to Tiffany too, right quick, Dream. So Tiffany said, but we still got to play this game, right? Now, I hear what you're saying. Let's say Tom's been with the company for 20 years, and who knows, he's established. I don't know. But so two things happen. Whoever Tom works for, or maybe he's his own, I don't know. Somebody approved that time off for Tom to be. He's been doing this for however long. Mm-hmm. And let's say that whoever you work for as a Scrum Master, whoever you report to says, yeah, I get it. He's been doing this. It's already approved. It's out of my control. You still got to play the game unless you're just going to say, I'm done, right? But this is what I've done. So in this new department that I'm in, I see the same very thing. These certain PMs are going to be off. They're gone. Hey, we got a cabin booked in the mountains. I'm taking my family. We're going skiing. Now these test campaigns are still coming through, and this is what happens for us. End of the fiscal year. So we got to spend all this money. So then if they bought all of this testing equipment, we got to run all these tests because if you don't utilize this money the next year, you didn't need it. So we're going to take it from you, right? You're going to lose it. And so now we got, but hey, so Tom's in the cat. He's in the mountains. He's in Aspen, right? So he's not there, and that person's not there. Critical resources are not, or stakeholders are not present because these people just took off like they normally do and left me with having to get all this work done. This is what I started doing. I can't control what Tom does, right? But I can control what I'm able to do based off what Tom did. So in my reports, in my meetings going forward, well, hey, everybody here present knows that Tom is responsible for X, Y, and Z. Tom wasn't here. We weren't able to satisfy that particular requirement. We were able to do this, this, and this, but because we didn't have the necessary people here, this failed through the cracks. So therefore, we might want to take this up with the director. It's out of my control. It's not my responsibility to figure out, make sure Tom is here. It's for whoever. Tom knows his job. It's not my job. So that's just, I kind of take that and I don't allow that to take away my positive energy because of how the system that I work in has already been set up.
So to Adrian's point, because that's happened to me where I had track meets or something. It happened last summer. So the track meet was supposed to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The NCAA added, because of COVID protocols, they had to break up. NCAA had to break up the boys and the girls, or the men and the women. So they went to an extra day. So now the meet was going to start on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which means I now have to travel where I was only going to travel Thursday, Wednesday night, get there for Thursday morning's first day, right? And take off Thursday and Friday, or work from the hotel Thursday and Friday. Now I have to take off Tuesday so I can fly to Florida and, work Wednesday. Now I have to change everything around, and it's completely unexpected. It's last minute. We got the information not even a week before the meet, and I had already, put my time in. But because I established what was important to me and that I was willing to not work that day and not get paid if that was the circumstance, I'm lucky and blessed enough to have a director that's like, sure, I know, completely understand. But be mindful, I also worked remote Wednesday all day, pretty much till 4:00. Worked remote Thursday, worked remote Friday. The Friday night, we had an 11 o'clock production, change. And I was on the call with the team at 11 o'clock at night after officiating all evening. So that's how I showed up in that scenario. So again, it goes back to making it fit, finding a way to have it fit your lifestyle and what you're trying to accomplish in that balance that Michelle's talking about. But you've got to find the employers who are supportive of your lifestyle. If you're going to a company that's going to require you to be there every day and you desire to be remote, I don't think that's the company for you unless you have to take it until you find something better. That's fine. But ultimately, especially, I don't think any of us are spring chickens anymore. I think all of us got a little seasoning on us. But at this stage in your careers, and if COVID hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us to kind of spend time investing in who we are as individuals, and then find those pieces that fit into what we want to prepare for the next state of our life. So if you're wanting to be financially independent, you might, work a 9 to 5. You might start looking at how you can increase your revenue in your side business. And hopefully you have you're setting that up for yourself so that you can start to pull away, maybe go to part-time and support that lifestyle. But I think it's important that we recognize that it depends on your individual lifestyle, what that means for you, what that balance, like Michelle said, what that balance means for you, what you're going to be required. And most importantly, like Adrian said, believing that you deserve to capture that, however you need to capture that, on your work site, however you need to build that, having conversations with those managers. Again, I'm very blessed to have a director who says to us blatantly, family is more important than anything. And if you have to leave because of family, or leave 2 hours early, or come in late, or leave throughout the day, we don't have to clock in every single hour that we're doing. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. Just make sure that you're showing up. And my last point is, let's be clear. We're talking about high performing teams, usually when you're talking about remote workers. None of these people are the average Joe, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already getting high performing people and empowering, as Calvin has mentioned, to find that balance, like Michelle has mentioned, and them learning to accept that they deserve to have that, as Adrian mentioned, I think is key to understanding how you can make remote work for you.
Yeah. And I wanted to add to you that this question. One of the things that it's interesting, I had an employee one time and she said, at the beginning of the year, I'm booking my time. One of the things I always find with us is we wait till we have something to put on the calendar, knowing at that beginning of the year, if you need to block time off, we tend to not do that, which is why it always looks as if though, as Adrian would say, the others, these things just randomly come up, not justifying that they're not leveraging their power, but a lot of times that is a number one thing that they're like, this is in my package. This is in my contract. I'm putting this time in early, right? Because they focus in on what the demand is for their jobs and they're looking at it strategically. That's one of the things that we have to get better at as well, is tying in all the things Tiffany mentioned, taking time, looking at that calendar and saying, I was given these 2 weeks, I was given this PTO, whether I have a planned vacation, let me go ahead and start putting this time in early, because 9 times out of 10, the others have already put their time in. And then when that time comes that they're out, people like, how the hell did that get approved? They put that in back in January, February, so that they are ready once that time comes. And it's like, I did all I need to do. But it also helps them to strategize how they prepare their life within this company, within their contract terms. What does that mean? We don't necessarily do that. We wait till things come up and we're like, I need to take this time. Sometimes we're not great at communicating those conversations on a last minute basis, right? We bring in the urgency, the emergency to kind of leverage that. I need to do this like tomorrow. When we're like, wait, did you have any buffer time? Like, did you not know this was really coming up? Sometimes we lever vacations that way, right? So we still have some things that we also need to do when we sign these contracts and agreements to make sure a company can only give you what they can give you. You also have to give yourself what and spend time figuring out, how do I leverage the perks that I also agree to? Not at the last minute, right? Because everything is not the last minute. Let me take time to really analyze my life, right? Let me focus on how I plan to leverage this. Sometimes we don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's when we sometimes can, perception's everything. And again, I'm saying this on a 50-50 scale. Why did Tom get to take off at the end of the year? Because Tom had already planned back in Q1, I'm going to need time in December. Let me go ahead and put that on there. Back in March, I'm putting this on there for December. So now when I'm setting how I plan on operating at this job, I know those months before December get here, what task I need to focus in on. How do I leverage my skill sets, my duration during this time? Because I've already planned to be off in December. I've already planned to be off in July. So I'm conducting how I am going to show up too, and how you all are best going to leverage my time. That is something that we don't always sit back as an African-American community and prioritize that.
We don't.
We wait for scenarios to come up last minute. So now we're like, oh, shoot, I shouldn't, which we shouldn't. We shouldn't have to wait till a planned vacation to come to say, I just may need a week off in July. You got time to figure it out in July, what you want to put there. It's just the fact that you are prioritizing
your time that you agree to in your contract, and then you can work your work schedule around that, right? You're accountable to your work schedule because July, I want to be off. I put that in. So when I walk out, people can say whatever they want to say about me, but I prioritize my tasks, my projects, all that stuff, because I look forward to July coming. I look forward to December coming. Yeah. So again, there's all different types of scenarios. And again, that's why I say on a 50-50 scale, because some people can use their power. I'm not discrediting that, right? But we, as an African-American community, sometimes, just like a manual, we buy something, we don't really read the instructions. We sign a contract, we don't leverage all the perks that we have in that contract. And
because Michelle, we don't believe we have those perks. Your mom, my mama, your mama, our grandmothers, you better not lose that good job.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be off today. I mean, everybody around you is supporting that. We've got to be above and beyond. We can't do what Tom did. We got to be in the office during the holidays. Like Adria mentioned. And maybe we don't take off Thanksgiving and Christmas, but take off one of them.
Yeah. But we do need to say, I signed this contract. They gave me 2 weeks. If I know, regardless if I have, and we like that. We want to do stuff when we have something in place.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't need to do stuff when we have something in place. We have to believe that we deserve to take a day off here and there. And I can tell you, I was bad about that, right? Just taking time or working from home. And I've been blessed to have these companies that give you all these days off. So I don't think about my vacation. But I also said, for my health, my well-being, my time that I need to reset when I feel fluttered, Michelle, start booking days early so that you have something to look forward to. It's not what the people around you are saying while you're off. I look forward to this day. So all those weeks before that, I bust my tail because I was looking forward to July.
I know people who work in the service industry and in healthcare, some really close friends of mine, and they actually tell us now is when they start planning for when they might be off next year, because January 1, everybody's putting their request in because healthcare doesn't have, they're usually short of staff. Everything works on, the service industry works on how many employees you have, what shift, and this and that. So those rotating schedules, they have to figure all of that out. So they absolutely have to have all of their days. Now there's some flexibility on, you can move it and see if but then you have to figure out who's going to cover you if you have to move it. Is it during somebody else's time? So that makes it difficult. But I agree with you, both of you, that yes, we do have to start putting that time in so that we at least are getting our minds to think about how we want to spend our personal time the next year. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And that sometimes I see a lot and I've heard a lot, and I'm like, and I had, these millennials nowadays, they'll be like, oh no, my time is in. I work with a colleague. I mean, starting the beginning of January, she booked every day to the T, from PTO to flex time. And I was just like, where are you going? She said, girl, I don't play with my time. I am putting it in. Do you see this calendar? Everybody already got their dates in Q1.
I got my dates for Q2. I got my dates for Q2, Q3, and Q4 next year, just in case.
Yeah, just in case. You just never know. But it's also a nice perk and incentive that we are taking advantage of, that the companies give us. And they're not sometimes saying, that's for you to decide how you want to use that. Yes, there's some jobs you have to coordinate, but 9 times out of 10, if you got 2 weeks, I can bet my bottom dollar a week is really in your control to just say, let me block this time off. The second week, you may have to negotiate, right? But that is something we wait to something comes up because we're so excited. And again, we have different variables than other folks sometimes. So, but it doesn't supersede that we still have the right to say, it's January. I know middle of the year, I kind of get a little bit burnt out. Let me go ahead and put some time on myself, even if it's just to reset, right?
Yep. And I want to offer this advice for those who are watching or listening who are wondering, okay, I've never put my time in that early. What do I do? And I'm going to give you the best tip you can ever remember. And that is look on the calendar for holidays. So you know that your office is going to be closed. Those are fantastic times to take an additional day, either before or after, to give yourself that time. Even if you don't use it, that's a perfect way to put it in on January 1. So look and see when 4th of July falls. Look and see when your birthday falls. You might want to take off the day or before or after your birthday. Look and see when Labor Day falls, or President's Day, or MLK Day, or all these other days that come up that your employer might recognize as paid time off for you, that you don't have to, holiday time. And then schedule those few days around those times to allow yourself some PTO that you're getting your mind to think about. And that at least gives you a start on how you can start to schedule in advance.
And with that tip, we're going to shut the show down. We already over an hour. We're at 1:45.
Wow.
Well, it's definitely been a pleasure speaking to you all and meeting you as well. Thank you, Adrian, for having me
Yes, Michelle.
here. And again, happy to join anytime.
Thank you. Thank you all. And Calvin, appreciate you, my brother from another mother. And Tiffany, thank you, my sis, my sports and heels, my Stewie. So yes, thank you. And definitely like to have y'all back on again, because y'all ran the show, man. I was just trying to move things around, just poping and stuff, all that stuff. So I'll definitely hit y'all up. Thank you all, and I'm gone.
All right. Bye.
Calvin and Michelle, have a good night.
You too. Have a good evening.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye.